Throughout history, there have been discoveries that have had tremendous impact on the lives of mankind. In many cases, these discoveries have only come along once in several lifetimes. What you're going to see today is one of those amazing discoveries that only come along every now and then. And the discovery that you will see today is going to have a tremendous impact on our lives. Hello, my name is James Spencer. I had an opportunity to become acquainted with Immunotec Research and their amazing product, Immunocal, toward the end of 1998. In fact, the product actually helped reverse a serious illness in my mother-in-law. So I decided to get involved and help produce public awareness for this product, Immunocal. We invite your close attention. The information presented could very well change your life or the life of someone that you love. There are no actors in this presentation. The people that you will see have actually used Immunocal, and their experiences are real.
My wife started taking Immunocal. I was impressed with the results that she was having with Immunocal. So for my allergies, I decided to try it, and I was highly impressed with the results. This is the first time in 12 years I've been able to actually not be afraid of springtime and the flowers and the blooms and walking through the park and smelling the flowers.
I did notice that over the last couple of months that my wife, she got like some bad flus. And I really believe that my immune system was built up by taking the Immunocal so that I didn't get them when I probably normally, under normal circumstances, I would have gotten them.
Immunocal is a fantastic product. I'm really highly impressed with the results I've had with Immunocal. My friends have seen a difference in me. I've seen a difference in myself as well as my family.
And this marks a new era in the medical field in terms of using what might be termed as a nutraceutical in the treatment of clinical states.
Well, I took the product one time. The next day, the pain in my feet was gone. And now I'm expecting something miraculous with my immune system, but the pain in my feet was gone. So I definitely hats off to Immunocal.
I've been using Immunocal for a little over 3 years in my medical practice. And I can honestly say that I haven't had one patient that hasn't derived a benefit from its use.
At the start of the new millennium, mankind is still facing serious challenges to its survival. Due to the improper use of refrigerants over the past several decades, a hole in the ozone layer surrounding our planet has grown ever larger, allowing increasingly dangerous radiation levels to reach our planet. Misuse of Earth's resources has allowed a tremendous amount of damage to be done to the environment. Evidence of pollution and toxic waste can be found all over the world today. It affects the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. What effect are these changes having on our quality of life today? The World Health Organization has reported that over 30 new infectious diseases, previously unknown, have begun to appear around the world since 1976. These diseases have come seemingly from nowhere, and there has been little that science has been able to do against them. Even diseases that we thought were vanquished are now coming back with a vengeance. There is strong indication that our immune systems have been detrimentally affected by the change of environment over the past century. This may explain why in 1900 only 1 in 30 were affected by cancer, but at the beginning of the new millennium, 1 in 3 are affected by cancer. When the devastating Legionnaire's disease killed 34 people back in 1976, the CDC worked for over 6 months to isolate this tiny, cigar-shaped bacterium, which came to be known as Legionella pneumophila. However, the shocking truth uncovered is that this bacteria apparently has existed all along. What can we do to protect ourselves and our families and work toward ensuring a happy and healthy life in the future? The outstanding protective resource seen in humans and much of the animal world, long considered an unduplicatable resource, breast milk has now been scientifically shown to have tremendous protective properties. Studies show that nursing babies for even 90 days can reduce the chances of a child ever getting the degenerative disease cancer by over 500%. Over 20 years ago, one of the most famous Canadian medical researchers made an accidental discovery that eventually led him to produce a formulation similar to mother's milk. Dr. Gustavo Bounous was awarded the prestigious Medal of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada at the young age of 36, and he was named Career Investigator for the Medical Research Council of Canada, which funded his research for over 3 decades. Dr. Bounous reflects on that momentous occasion back in 1978.
When I began my research study on the effect of whey protein concentrate in mice, that's the animal we were using for, I did not expect to stumble on the role of glutathione. What we did, in fact, we observed accidentally that mice eating this type of protein were able to mount a stronger immune response when challenged with bacteria, antigen, or cancer. But then later on we observed that these animals, in fact, were able to synthesize glutathione more effectively than the control animal. And then, of course, we had to find out what was the role of glutathione, and that we took advantage of the enormous and abundant data from the medical literature on the function of glutathione.
Glutathione was discovered in 1888 while study was being done on cataracts. But it would be nearly 100 years after its discovery that scientists would begin to realize the vast impact that glutathione has on the body. Many medical doctors are only now learning of the implications in medical treatment. Dr. Jimmy Gutman explains how he reacted when he began to understand the properties of this unique antioxidant.
I still remember the day that I found out about glutathione and associated research. There was a buddy of mine who came into my office and said, Dr. Gutman, called me Jimmy, I want you to look at this. This is something that has tremendous potential against the aging process, against certain kinds of cancer, against growing old like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and I just viewed that with a little bit of skepticism. And his answer to me was by dropping 20 pounds of literature on my desk and turning around and saying, read this. And he managed to ruin the next 3 months of my life because I just could not get away from this literature. It spilled over into searches on the internet, me traveling down to the medical school library, canceling entire afternoons of clinic time just to read about this. And what I read was truly phenomenal. I was reading about research coming out of the best centers in North America, from well-recognized doctors, out of top respected medical journals, and I just could not believe what I was looking at.
After 12 years of laboratory trials and dozens of scientific papers published, fellow scientists began to request that Dr. Bounous make this nutritious and absolutely harmless protein powder available for human trials. Immediate benefits began to be seen in numerous studies.
Immunocal gave me my life back. For 4 years, I was in a lot of pain because of fibromyalgia, and I felt like I had no life. I was in bed most of the time, and I was in so much pain, and I couldn't even go to work, or if I did, it was just a couple hours, and after that I had to spend the rest of the time in bed. And we happened to spend thousands of dollars, all kind of care, and nothing really seemed to work. And I felt like I didn't have a social life. Then a friend of mine told me about Immunocal, and then I didn't want to try it because I thought, oh no, a new product, more money to spend. And after that we said, well, why not try it? What do I have to lose? After only a week on Immunocal, I couldn't believe it. My pain subsided a lot. I felt so much better. And now every week I feel that I'm getting more strength, and I have less and less pain, and I have more energy. So it's really fantastic because I feel that I have my life back, and we have a social life now, and I can go back to work, and I don't spend all my time in bed.
Well, Immunocal has been a lifesaver. My wife was chronically ill in a lot of pain, and within just a few short weeks, the pain subsided. She was able to regain her strength and her health. I started taking the product myself. I couldn't believe how much better I felt. Stronger immune system, better toned muscles, my arthritis in my knee went away, and I feel much stronger and healthier. I think it's a wonderful product.
I started to use the product myself. I really love it. I will make sure the product's in my kitchen cabinet so my family can use it. And I recommend everyone will use the product to keep their health.
I started taking Immunocal a year and a half ago because at the age of 57, I had been troubled with a prostate problem, or what I was told was a prostate problem, for almost a decade. And this problem had diminished my ability to push urine out of my body to about 50% of what had been normal. I had taken other nutritional supplements that are supposed to deal with prostate health. None of them gave me any relief or created any significant change. After only 5 days on Immunocal, the problem disappeared totally and hasn't returned in a year and a half. After taking Immunocal for about a month, I woke up one morning and noticed that the aches and pains that I had been having for quite some time, which I attributed to simply getting older and which are related to arthritis in my neck and ankles, weren't there anymore. I haven't suffered from those aches and pains since that moment in time.
As a physician who's been in actual medical practice for just this side of 40 years, I've had many opportunities to observe metabolic problems manifested through the aging process of many of my patients. And Immunocal offers us a chance to reverse some of the ravages of time and actually see improvements that I have never witnessed before.
In the late 80s, Dr. Bounous met Dieter Beer, an Austrian-German businessman. Together they formed a scientific research company called Immunotec Research. Dieter financed the legal work required to obtain 6 North American patents for Immunocal. At first, Dr. Bounous began to make small quantities of Immunocal under close supervision right in Montreal. But ultimately, his search for the highest quality whey protein concentrate led to a dairy located in the heartland of America. The area this dairy is located in has one of the lowest levels of pollution in the country. The herd has never been given antibiotics and does not consume food containing pesticides. Immunotec Research packages Immunocal under the highest pharmaceutical standards. Dr. Jimmy Gutman, author of the GSH Handbook, tells us what glutathione does for the body.
And with all this research being done in glutathione, all these thousands of articles that are coming out, people still ask the question, why can't I just eat glutathione? In fact, you can't eat glutathione. What happens when you eat glutathione? It gets broken down in your digestive tract and it ends up being passed. The only way to raise glutathione in your body is to eat the building blocks for your body to manufacture glutathione. We call these building blocks precursors. All that Immunocal does is supply your body with the precursors to make glutathione. A person can, in the comfort of his own home, take a package of this product, mix it up, and ingest it. And once you eat the Immunocal, it enters your digestive tract. It's safely passed into your intestine. It's very easily absorbed. Once it's absorbed, it gets picked up in your bloodstream. And it is the building blocks of precursors that are traveling through your bloodstream. When these precursors get to your cells, there are certain amino acids that are released into the cell, and the cell itself starts to manufacture glutathione.
Dr. Bounous' breakthrough discovery of this immunostimulating powder led to the full development and eventual marketing of Immunocal by Immunotec Research. In 1996, attorney Alex Konigsberg introduced Dr. Bounous and Dieter Beer to Chuck Roberts, who owned Evergreen Products. They joined forces to bring Immunocal to market through direct sales. In a recent lecture, Dr. Alan Summersall, in his own inimitable way, drew attention to the importance of Dr. Bounous' discovery.
You know, after 20 years of being very concerned in the wellness industry, concerned about what the individual could do for their own self-protection. In fact, even after going through medical school and being involved in medical practice, I had never had this particular idea go through my mind of the individual cell protecting itself. See, each particular cell in the body is trying to protect itself for its own health. The cell on the face is protecting itself against an ultraviolet ray when you're sunbathing. A cell in the gut is protecting itself from a carcinogen that gets into the diet. Every cell in the body is protecting itself on a daily basis. And in order to do that, this cell has its own defensive mechanism. And that's where glutathione is so important. It's the cell's principal defensive molecule in its own defense. And what Dr. Bounous was able to do was to allow us to take an action step, to do something to enable the cell, to facilitate the cell being able to make more glutathione in its own protection. And by being able to do that, I think he has started a revolution.
John H. Molson tells us why healthy people and even athletes can expect better performance by using Immunocal.
Now, what we found with Immunocal is that it positively affects the immune system. In other words, it can reduce the incidence of upper respiratory illness in athletes. So what does that mean for the athlete? Well, typically athletes will get sick 2 to 3 to 4 times a year. And for a professional athlete, or for the owner of a professional team, that can mean lost dollars. So Immunocal can positively affect the team or the athlete by improving the athlete's immune system and thus less downtime. The second major criteria is recovery. We know for a fact that oxidative stress induces injuries to the muscle, thereby having muscle soreness after intense training. What Immunocal does is it ups or increases the antioxidant quantity in the cell, thus regulating the injury induced by oxidative stress in the muscle. As a consequence, the professional athlete will be able to train more frequently at a higher level, rather than having to wait for the soreness to abate. The third primary area is that of of performance. And what we've seen with Dr. Lanza's work at the Montreal Children's Hospital was athletes taking Immunocal had a 13.5% increase in their performance versus no increase in the placebo group. Now, this is fairly dramatic if you think that races are won and lost by a matter of seconds.
There are now tens of thousands of people who are using Immunocal daily to improve and maintain good health. It is the definitive wellness product for the new millennium. However, Immunocal not only promotes wellness, but it is patented to treat some serious illnesses. Immunocal has actually helped save the lives of many people. Here are a few case studies.
Immunocal to me has been like a resurrection. It has been like coming back from death to life.
The case of this lady I'm referring to, she had pulmonary fibrosis. She had no lung function left when I saw her. She had 1 liter lung capacity. She couldn't breathe. She was a candidate for a lung transplant. She had no other choice. She was treated with antibiotic, bronchodilator, steroid without effect. Then comes along this milk-derived protein that cured her. Sounds like a stunning statement to make, but she was well documented by 2 independent lung disease specialists at McGill in 2 different hospitals. She was given the treatment with this whey protein concentrate called Immunocal. She lung capacity went back to 3 liter, 0.3. She was stopped the treatment. She went back to 1 liter. She was gasping for air 2-3 times to make sure it was not a fluke, it was a real effect of the treatment. Now, the second lesson we derive from her is that it's the lesson of humility for the established medicine. Because if steroid, the best of antibiotics, bronchodilator, couldn't do anything for this lady, and here comes this milk-derived protein that actually cured her. It's been now a year since. She's doing very well.
Several years ago, after a complicated illness, my lung doctor diagnosed pulmonary fibrosis, and then my life came to a stop.
In the case of Nina Pertouche, she recognized that despite taking a variety of medications, her condition was not improving. She started taking Immunocal on her own initiative and had a dramatic improvement in her function. When her doctor called me up, he was quite surprised, but when we discussed it, I discussed that there was a very good basis for why it might be improving. Nina then subsequently went off the product and her symptoms came back. It was at that point that Nina got in touch with me. And what I suggested to her that if she was going to go back on the product, that we could study her before and then 1 month after going back on the product. She told me she was going back on the product, and so we organized for her to come in. And what we did is we measured her lung function and we measured her glutathione levels. And then we saw her 1 month later. And with much to Nina's pleasure and to our own pleasure, Nina had a dramatic improvement in her lung function and a dramatic improvement in her glutathione levels.
This is one case that I've been following very carefully. This is of a woman who had Hodgkin's disease, which is a type of cancer, and she was subjected to a lot of radiotherapy. Subsequently, she developed a lot of scarring in her lungs, something we call pulmonary fibrosis. And this pulmonary fibrosis left her quite breathless. She was someone who was very active. She was a lawyer. She was taking care of her kids, and she found herself stuck at home, essentially on home oxygen. Now, we tried all different kinds of treatment. We tried inhaled steroids, bronchodilators, different kinds of medications, and really she just was not getting any better. One day she showed up to her pulmonary physician saying, look, I can breathe. And not knowing whether this was placebo or not, we did some pulmonary function tests on her. And sure enough, she was back to 95% of normal. We were wondering why, and she told us because 6 weeks previous, she started taking a product called Immunocal.
I was very happy to hear about Immunocal. It had a great effect on my life. In the summer of 1996, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
When Jim Haig approached me in the fall of 1998, he was concerned because he had been on chemotherapy for widespread or metastatic prostate cancer, and his treatment had caused him to have heart toxicity. And because of that, his treatment had been discontinued, and he would have been classified as a treatment failure. And he was left on a small dose of prednisone only because of associated inflammation of the heart muscle. He came to me hoping that I might be able to suggest some kind of alternative treatment, since at that point in time the oncologist had not been able to offer him anything else. And I said to him, look, I'm going to think about possibly putting you on Immunocal because of what I know about it, and I'm going to discuss it with your urologist. And I did. And the urologist said to me, to my surprise pleasantly, why not? Let's try him on it. And so at that point in time, having had the treatment failure, he started on Immunocal, 1 packet per day. And he had, at that time when he started, a PSA of 208. And after 1 month, his PSA dropped down to a level of 28, which in itself was amazing, but it was only 1 month. So we waited until the 2nd month, and at the 2nd month, it was 11. And at that point of time, we realized that we were having an amazing response. In addition to which, he felt very much better, much improved. His symptoms of fatigue and of having a depressed outlook were alleviated to a great degree. He felt substantially better and was able to take his vacation in Florida, which he usually does in late fall, and to be able to look forward to enjoying it. So in other words, it turned his situation around and enabled him to have a much improved quality of life and to resume his life the way he would have liked to at that point in time.
One of the most dramatic users or changes in the user that I've observed is the change in Mildred Wade, who's a patient of mine for many years, whom I've watched as a diabetic, difficult to control, and I've watched her deteriorate to the point where a little more than a year ago she became confused. We had her on medication for Alzheimer's disease. She was mentally out in left field a good deal of the time. She had lost her personality. She had lost her enthusiasm. She was barely able to walk. She had become incontinent. She really wasn't functioning as a person anymore. but thanks to the care that her sister gave her, and also to the miracle, and I really think of it as a miracle, of Immunocal, Mildred has regained her mental acumen. She can carry on a good conversation. Her sense of humor is better than ever. She, except for the fact that she has some visual problems that are going to be operated upon soon, her circulation in her legs is better. Her diabetes is controlled in a way that we were never able to achieve before. And she is able to ambulate. She's able to control her incontinence problem is gone. She functions. She walks into my office now. I used to make house calls on Mildred because there was no other way to see her. So in every way, I would offer Mildred as a case in point, not by any chance our only case in point, but a very dramatic and wonderful one whose improvement is 95% due to Immunocal because of the dramatic nature of the change that she underwent after she started it.
I gave it to Mildred twice a day, and she drank it faithfully there for about 2 months. And I could just see a drastic change in Mildred after drinking this Immunocal. And I was just so happy about it. Every time I'd come in the office, I'd say, give me another box of that Immunocal that you have. So I would get it and take it home, and we'd have used it faithfully for about a year. And there she is to prove the point. Since I started taking Immunocal, I noticed a drastic change in my walking, my speech, and my food. I would eat much better. And it just gave me strength and hope all the way around. Today, she stands on her own 2 feet and acts and talks like my sister used to do, thanks to Immunocal.
I have one case of a 48-year-old female with renal cell carcinoma. And it was at the point in her life, basically, that the oncologist had said, you know, there's something we can do for you, but really not very much. And the percentages of survival are pretty thin. And they'd given her several choices. And so I came in contact with this patient, and we put her on Immunocal aggressively, on Immunocal 2 packs 4 times a day. And we also did what we thought was important for her lifestyle changes. And I can say that from that time that we started, we began to see her energy return and her general feeling of well-being almost immediately improve. And then following that, over a period of years now, it's been several years, we have had CAT scan evidence of the primary metastatic sites to actually resolve with no other chemotherapy or irradiation, just on Immunocal and lifestyle, to resolve where now we have, and by the way, the metastasis went to the liver and the lungs and up the lymph nodes in the neck. And we've seen those diminish where all of the pulmonary nodules secondary to this metastasis in the lungs are gone. The major tumors in the liver are gone except one, and that's been shrinking. And all the adenopathy is resolved in the neck and the lymph nodes in the neck. So we've been excited about that. And of course, she's been really excited about it because from a person who had been given 7 weeks to 6 months to live, that's been several years ago now, she's still going strong and enjoying life. So those are the kind of things that we've seen with Immunocal.
20 years ago, there was maybe a handful of articles done on glutathione. In the last couple of years, there are over 35,000 articles written on glutathione. And the potential clinical applications are immense. There's a huge amount of work done in the field of infectious disease, including AIDS, including hepatitis. There's a very, very active teams looking at glutathione modulation in cancer therapy, in the prevention of the side effects of chemotherapy, and even simple things like what glutathione does to the healthy person. There's a lot of research done on athletic people and the average person on how to avoid getting old, what we call anti-aging medicine. One question I get a lot of times is what effect it'll have on pregnant or lactating women. In fact, I promote raising glutathione very strongly in pregnant and lactating women.
About a year ago, I was diagnosed with hepatitis C, and the doctors were going to have to put me on some chemicals, really strong chemicals, because my liver had been damaged so greatly. So 8 months ago, I started using Immunocal to combat the side effects and also to help with my energy level, because I didn't have any energy. And sure enough, my energy level went up and the side effects were diminished greatly. And now they can't even detect the virus in my body, and also my liver is rejuvenating itself.
So I took this product for 4 months, and I have got amazing results. For the first time after 3 years, I passed to high level of risk to low level of risk. And 2 months later, I went to completely cure from this severe dysplasia. This was really amazing for me, and it was great news that without changing anything in my life, just using Immunocal, I could get those good results.
I began to take 2 packets a day of Immunocal because of my condition. An amazing thing happened when I started back on the chemotherapy. I had absolutely no side effects. And this was just unbelievable to me. And so I decided, well, this has to be because of the product, because this is the only different thing that I was doing. I can tell you this, Immunocal is a product that I will take for the rest of my life.
I first heard about Immunocal in November of last year. Started taking it immediately. I felt that anything that could help improve my wellness was worth a try. The immediate response from me was a tremendous surge in just energy and being able to work completely through a day without feeling that afternoon drag. I run a busy schedule. I work for a national corporation in sales on a full-time basis, and I have a television show that airs 13 weeks out of the year. It's a full 30-minute show. Keeps me very busy on weekends, vacation days, and I literally have worked through the entire flu and cold season without getting sick once. And for me, that's just extraordinary. I never have that happen. So I have heard of Immunocal. I'm a believer in Immunocal, and I don't see any reason to stop taking it. It's just done wonders for me in the last 5 months.
My husband and I are very grateful to have learned about Immunocal. As a grandmother, I know better than anyone how valuable it is to be able to keep up with my 3 grandchildren and to have the energy to do the things that I really enjoy. I enjoy rollerblading and aerobics. I go to a kickboxing class. And I feel as I've gotten older, I'm able to maintain the same energy I had as a younger person.
I can certainly attest to that. In fact, we both take the product daily. And I'm convinced, because I do, that I'm able at the corporate marketplace to have a better sense of well-being, have an edge even on those around me because of Immunocal.
And as far as we're concerned, this is a product we'll use for life.
6 months using this product, I feel great. Energy level, always had high energy, but the thing that I've noticed is that I hadn't caught a cold. I've been around people who had flu symptoms and so forth, who had the flu, my wife, and I seem to have been immune from their germs. In the morning, it's a routine for me. It's like a part of my life now. I get up, I have my little blender, have my breakfast, mix it in my blender before I go. It's like putting on my shoes or tying my shoes. It's something a part of my everyday life that I do now with Immunocal.
I have 6 grandchildren, all taking Immunocal, as well as my, 4 children all on Immunocal. My little youngest, well, not youngest now because we just had a baby born last Saturday, but the youngest, 3.5 years of age, she has never been on antibiotics and never really had a serious infection, and she's been on Immunocal for 3 years.